Steve Jobs, the billionaire genius whose name is synonymous with all things Apple. Find out why Steve Jobs' fame and fortune continue almost a decade after his death in today's episode.
My name is Dan Henry, and when I was 16 years old, I decided that I wanted to be rich. So I studied as many wealthy entrepreneurs as I could and used what I learned to create my own successful business. The purpose of this channel is to share my research with the world and show you how they got rich.
We usually associate Steve Jobs with the company Apple, but you may be surprised to find out that Apple wasn't the company that helped make him his first billion. In fact, despite being the co-founder of Apple, he was fired by that company and then later rehired. With so much back and forth, how did he manage to keep on climbing? Let's take a closer look at his journey. On February 24, 1955, Steve Jobs was born to a pair of graduate students who gave him up for adoption. He was adopted as an infant by Clara and Paul Jobs, and he lived with them in Mountain View, California, an area which would one day, thanks to Steve Jobs, go on to be named Silicon Valley. Even at a very young age, Jobs was incredibly smart and creative. Too intelligent to be entertained by elementary-level material, he spent his time pulling pranks on his classmates and getting into trouble with his teachers. His fourth-grade teacher actually had to bribe him to get him to study. But Jobs' father knew how to keep him entertained. He taught him how to take apart and reconstruct various electronics, which gave Jobs an interest and confidence in working with technology. That interest helped lead him to meet his future business partner, Steve Wozniak. They met while Jobs was in high school, and thanks to their shared interest in building computers, they clicked almost immediately. Jobs and Wozniak were both independent thinkers, and together they wanted to revolutionize the world. A 20-year-old college dropout, Jobs spent countless hours experimenting in his garage, which is where he would eventually birth the idea for the billion-dollar company that he's known for. But his road to fortune and fame would be windy. In 1977, he and Wozniak co-founded the Apple Corporation. The name was inspired by Jobs' on and off stints as a fruitarian. Upon founding their company, they used their combined ingenuity to introduce the very first Apple computer to the world. Massive success followed. 3 years later, Apple became a publicly traded company. The market value of Apple skyrocketed, and Jobs and Wozniak felt that they needed an expert to help them manage their finances. So in 1983, they brought on John Sculley, and this is where things get interesting. After a few years, Sculley believed that Jobs was actually hurting Apple. So a mere 8 years after founding the company, the board of directors voted to oust Jobs. Jobs was fired from the company that he helped to start. Interestingly enough, this bizarre chain of events is what actually allowed Jobs to begin taking the next steps toward amassing his fortune. Despite having his company, the one he had built from his garage, taken away from him, he never stopped creating. He easily could have given up, played the victim, and stopped innovating. But Steve Jobs never lost faith. In 1985, he founded Next, a computer company developed to design and manufacture high-performance computing machines, specifically built for higher education institutions. While he was working on Next, he also began working alongside George Lucas to create the new computer graphics division of Lucas's production company. Today, we know their venture as Pixar. Lucas and Jobs began their Pixar journey in 1986, creating animated films. In 1995, 9 years after Pixar's inception, families fell in love with the Pixar movie Toy Story, which became one of the highest-grossing Pixar films of all time. Pixar has brought us some other beloved and timeless classics, including Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, and WALL-E. The first production company ever to produce a 3D computer animated film, Pixar made history. It wasn't Apple or Next that earned Jobs his first $1 billion. It was Pixar. The company's profits exploded when it went public in 1994, catapulting Jobs into billionaire status. Jobs continued to work with both Pixar and Next while playing a major role in the development of consumer computer systems leading up to the internet boom of the 2000s. But what of Apple? Whatever happened to the company that banished their creator? Well, it wasn't until 1996 that Jobs would eventually make his way back to the company that he had helped to found 20 years prior. Apple realized that Jobs' computer company, Next, would be extremely helpful to their business. So in 1996, Apple bought Next and acquired Jobs along with it. Now that he was back where he belonged, Jobs worked tirelessly to improve whatever he could. In a few short months, Jobs became the CEO of his former company, a position that he would hold until his death in 2011. But when he took over Apple in 1997, it was in a vastly different place than it is now. In fact, the company was in a tremendous free fall. Cheap and affordable PCs had flooded the market, and Apple had no way to remain competitive. Drastic times call for drastic measures, so Steve Jobs took the initiative as CEO to reach out to his direct competitor, Microsoft's Bill Gates, for some financial support. He managed to convince Bill Gates to invest $150 million into Apple. Jobs used this cash injection to help revitalize Apple's marketing strategy. They ensured that they could sell the remaining inventory of their current products before dedicating more capital to future research and development. From there, Jobs leveraged his experience in product development with Next to design the new iMac product. This new computer system was an instant hit. The success from the iMac allowed Jobs to dedicate research, development, and resources to the groundbreaking iPod, which was released in 2001. After multiple iterations, upgrades, and new features, the iPod revolutionized the ways in which we consume and collect music. Forever pushing the limits of modern technology, Jobs continued to innovate in ways the world couldn't have predicted. Soon, the iPhone launched, followed by the iPad and the MacBook series. Steve Jobs eventually became a multi-billionaire. The man built himself an empire in less than 35 years. When Jobs died on October 5, 2011, he had been battling pancreatic cancer for nearly a decade. He died surrounded by his family, and according to the eulogy written by his sister Mona Jobs, his last words were, "Oh wow, oh wow, oh wow." At the time of his death, he held over 300 patents. Since his death, he has earned another 141 patents, making for a total of 458 patents awarded to Steve Jobs. Jobs' story is unlike many other successful billionaires, which is why it's so important. He didn't have the whole world handed to him. In fact, he was given up for adoption, he dropped out of college, and he was booted from the very company he helped to create. He showed us the true heart of a leader, someone who never gives up, never plays the victim, and never loses faith. Even in the face of adversity, he never stopped partnering, innovating, and creating. Jobs was a monumental figure not only in the world of technology and computers, but also in entertainment, knowledge sharing, communicating, collaborating, and so much more. While he was known as a combative, passionate person, he will be remembered for his peaceful way of promoting technology's best and most important features. Co-founder of the Apple Corporation, Pixar chairman, and personal computer pioneer, Steve Jobs left a legacy that is far more valuable even than the wealth he accumulated during his short life. His ideas have completely revolutionized how we communicate with each other on a daily basis, creating an impact that will be felt throughout history. The brilliant innovator and beloved billionaire offered this advice: sometimes life is going to hit you in the head with a brick. Don't lose faith.
Hey, Dan Henry here, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of How They Got Rich. I created this channel because these men and women inspired me to quit my job years ago as a pizza boy and pursue entrepreneurship, which eventually led me to become a multi-millionaire. If you'd like to know more about that, you can follow me on my main YouTube channel, youtube.com/Dan Henry. But before you go, I'd like to remind you why the people on this channel are successful, as well as myself. It's because they've mastered 3 main areas of their life: business, productivity, and mindset. And that's why I've made it my life's work to help others in those 3 key areas. So here are 3 ways I can help you right now. If you own a business and you're looking to grow it, you can head over to getclients.com and learn how we built a $20 million business, as well as learn how these strategies can apply to your business. You'll find a collection of free trainings, podcasts, and blog posts on that website to help you grow your business. As well, you can grab a free copy of my book, Digital Millionaire Secrets, which is a Wall Street Journal and USA Today bestseller. You can find that on getclients.com. Number 2, you can head over to plantomorrow.com and check out the Plan Tomorrow Daily Planner. This is a planner I personally designed to make myself more productive and get things done. Because the truth is, if you want to do big things, you have to get things done. And I know this planner will help change your life like it's changed mine. For a limited time, it also comes with a free productivity class taught by me, so head over there right now and grab yourself a copy. And finally, number 3, if you're struggling with mindset, confidence, motivation, imposter syndrome, or you're just looking to develop a rock solid mindset so you can achieve more in life, then I want you to head over to howtothink.com, where we have daily mindset mentoring on how to achieve anything in life by changing the way you think. So grab a copy of your Plan Tomorrow Daily Planner now. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next episode.